Hello, 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 hello. Hmm. Excuse me, that was totally unexpected for the first thing. I'm still waiting to make sure that everything is up, running. You can see me, you can hear me, all that kind of great stuff. I'm going live a little bit earlier than I normally would. I typically try to go live and live stream these directly around like noon, but I had a couple of things that come up today, so we're doing this a bit earlier. And so welcome back. This is a pretty important episode. We're on episode 13. And for all of you that have been walking this witchy, wonderful path for a while, you very well may know that that number 13 has a meaning, has some purpose associated often to Hecate, who is one of the, known as like the goddess of witchcraft. And so, yeah, very beautiful, very amazing. In today's episode, I sat there this morning thinking, and talking to my guides as I was doing morning ritual and saying, like, what do we talk about? What do we talk about? And this very interesting kind of question came up this morning in my head when I asked that, which was really around kind of, are you like born a witch? Like, are you just born with, being able to do these things? And so today I'm going to be talking to you about what I feel are witchy superpowers, right? And kind of like, that whole answering that question, like born with it, not with it, all that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, we'll go into like why I share this all with you. And so, yeah, I do talk about these as witchy superpowers, and I've been talking about them for a while. And it was pretty awesome. I think when I had this like light bulb click off, you know, kind of connecting these as really being superpowers. And I look at our witchy superpowers, and other people may have their own opinions, their own thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear them. Um, but this is kind of like, this is my belief here is that we have like three kind of verticals or three pillars where our witchy superpowers show up. And the very first one is, with psychic abilities and divination. And so, as a witch, our ability to be able to connect to the collective consciousness, to the ethers, to the universe, to spirit, is a lot stronger than maybe someone that's not kind of walking this earth and identifying as a witch. So witches have these gifts to being able to tap into their psychic abilities and leverage them for all sorts of various different reasons, right? I mean, if I were to list off, and maybe I'll do this at some point, all of the reasons, all of the ways that you could use your psychic abilities or divination, you'd be maybe even floored. I mean, there is not all the time. I use my psychic ability all the time, from like the moment my little brain kicks on and my eyes open in the morning to the time. I mean, even even when I'm sleeping, let's be real, like, my own psychic abilities could be paying attention and doing dream work and trying to find answers, within the dream world. I mean, that is one. So that's one kind of pillar, one vertical, so to speak, like these psychic abilities, this our ability to tap into our sixth senses and really leverage additional information from the universe that somebody that wasn't embracing those gifts, right? So that's one. The second is the witch's ability to literally do magical ritual. And so this can be, in through like literally like spell work. This could be through like alchemical ritual. This could be like through ceremonial magic rituals. Literally, a witch is able to do magic, execute magic. And, I think that we've talked about it in a past podcast. And if not, I'm getting an answer of no. No, I haven't. So I will at some point elaborate further on like truly what magic means. Magic is being able to bring about changes through intention, like leveraging energy to bring about changes through very specific intention. And so this can be, and you could go down the path of like, hoodoo, voodoo, alchemy, witchcraft, like spell work, ceremonial, like it doesn't matter what flavor you call it. If you are reaching into the ethers in order to bring about changes within the the universe, in the world, in your life, in somebody else's life, whatever, that's magic. So that's another, vertical. And then that last final vertical is healing. right? So these healing gifts, and whether that healing is through energy work, whether that healing is through, shamanic, journeying, whether it's through a literal modality like Reiki, prana, hypnosis, any of these things, right? A witch is going to be able to provide and, access kind of healing, these healing abilities. And so, some people may ask, like, why do I see these as superpowers? Right. And so I'm gonna remind you, because I have addressed this before and mentioned this, like, once upon a time, royalty, kings, queens, emperors, empress, like dictators, rulers would keep at, their right hand. And maybe I don't mean like in the literal Game of Thrones, maybe I do. But they're like almost like their right hands, their royalty, they would have on their advisory team somebody with these gifts. Whether or not they actually call themselves a witch is another, but they literally, and the reason why they advise royalty was because of things like they could see and help make strategic decisions, help a leader be able to make strategic decisions, right? They could actually conduct ritual magic in order to bring about and change the influence of scenarios to benefit that emperor and that royalty. And obviously, if you've got someone that's leading countries, empires, you sure as heck want to make sure that they are always going to be of, wellness, well, mind, body, and spirit, so that those healing gifts. All right. And so, we think about that at a smaller level, even if it wasn't for an emperor, towns often would have, be working with a witch, right? They would have a healer, a medicine man, a medicine woman, somebody that folks would go to. And these could be like, decent sized towns or like small villages or anything of that nature, right? And often because of the proof, right? The validation, the like seeing things coming true, making difference, bringing about magical changes and things of that nature. These witches or these individuals that would have these superpowers, because they were seen as different than the typical superpower, right? Being able to bring about changes, heal, see things, right? Often they were feared because of this magic that they could wield. And so, I think about superheroes that have superpowers, whether it be Superman or Batman or Spider-Man or Wonder Woman or Catwoman or anything of that nature. These gifts, these abilities are different than the typical average human. And they're typically, meant, to do great things, and great in the terms of good or bad. You could be a villain too, I guess, and have superpowers. And so my belief is that these abilities and these gifts were given to us in order to be of service in the world, to bring about amazing changes. Maybe we're not saving Gotham, but we might be saving our best friend, right? We might be saving our, someone in our family, and helping them overcome some sickness or ailment, or, we may be, doing magic to raise the vibration of a community to help them overcome trauma or things that they've been through, right? I believe that these abilities and gifts that are truly superpowers, and they were given to us in order to wield them and to be of service in the world. Which gets us into that question, right? Because that sounds really amazing and awesome and like, wow, right? Like as a witch, I'm like, like I wield a cape just like every other superhero wields a cape, right? Maybe I call it a cloak, but I wield it. And so, the question becomes then, and even we go back, they're like my guides are showing me these pictures, even superheroes. Yeah, some superheroes were literally just born, if you, look at and go and follow, but some of them were quote unquote made, right? They had this experience, Spider-Man being bit by a spider, and now showing and expressing all of these beautiful new gifts that he has, right? And so this is my belief, right? And this is kind of my experience. I've opened up a lot of Akashic records from folks throughout as I've been doing this, opened it up and looked at past lives. And I found almost every single person's Akashic record that I have opened has shown some lifetime where they are connected to some type of deeply spiritual practice, right? And I don't mean necessarily in this instance that it's just like witchcraft or anything of that nature. It could just be like they were a priest, they were a nun, they had this very devout, type of practice. And even in that regards, I still think of these superpowers, right, that I said, the psychic abilities, the divination, the magical ritual, the healing gifts. Still, if you are a priest or a nun, it's very likely that you're wielding those same superpowers. You're just not calling yourself a witch. Right. And so here's the other side of that piece. Anytime that I have folks come to me and we're talking, we're having a conversation, and they're like, I'm just drawn to it. I'm just drawn to witchcraft. I'm drawn to crystals. I'm drawn to incense. I'm drawn to candles. I just thought about doing Reiki. I just woke up from a dream and was like, I should do energy healing. Like anytime I have had a conversation with folks that are drawn to this, they damn well, when we go in and look in past lives, have a past life where they have literally wielded these gifts as a magical person. Once again, they may not identify exactly as a witch, right? But they have it. And so when we say this question around whether or not we're born as a witch or not, or anything of that nature, the reality is there are very few souls that walk this earth that did not practice or wield some form of witchcraft or magical kind of superpowers in a past life. So like, were you born, right? I mean, you may not be born aware and acknowledging those gifts, right? But you will find. So my belief is, I'll say this. My belief is some of us are more aware. We're born. We just know. And like, so for me, for example, I had no clue as a child that these were things that I was gravitating towards, but I did. There were like, at a young age, I knew about astral projection, meditation, all sorts of various things. I mean, I've since realized why, right? So some of us are just more aware. Right. And then some of us are waiting for that knock on the door. They're waiting for that friend to befriend us that has a practice. They're waiting for that book to cross their path that now leads them down. They're just waiting, right? They're waiting for that knock, right? So I believe that every single one of us, every human being that walks this planet has the ability to step in and embrace their own witchy superpowers. But just as every single one of us are as an individual, and our fingerprints are not the same, how those superpowers show up for them are going to be different. How they may need to wield them could be different. There is no like cookie cutter prescription that I can just go tell any one individual how to embrace their own superpowers. So that's why I'm sharing this with you. So I'm gonna give you a couple of things right today as to like kind of elaborating a bit on the why, right? Number one, if you have felt the calling, right? You've contemplated, you've thought about it, right? Maybe you've been listening to other episodes of this podcast. Maybe you've been following me otherwise. Maybe you just stumbled across, because somebody else pointed you in my path, right? Keep exploring it. Number one, if you have felt that calling, keep exploring it. Don't take on any guilt or shame. If you're like, I haven't done this for months, or I haven't looked at this at years, or I haven't, that doesn't matter. Time does not exist, right? So it doesn't matter. Keep exploring it. I don't care how fast, how slow, or anything of that nature. Just keep exploring it. Devour anything that you can read. Anybody that ever mentions, ask them questions. If they're wearing a pendant or something of that nature that looks witchy, compliment them on it. Like keep exploring it. And I would strongly encourage you to start keeping some kind of physical or digital record of your knowledge. So I keep a Pinterest, multiple Pinterest boards. I have a Pinterest account, both personal, and once I ended up going professional, you can actually go in and create a business Pinterest, and you can say, grab all my boards. And I was like, oh my God. I was like 75% of my personal boards just moved right over into the business account because I had literally been keeping track and doing research and exploring things for so long. And I still to this day will turn over into my Pinterest and explore and find things, or go pin and add more additional things if I'm exploring a new topic. So keep exploring it. If you have just stumbled across this podcast and are still wondering if you are being called, ding, 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 you are 100%. You're not listening to this episode out of coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in synchronicities. And so here is that synchronicity that says, you are being called, my dear. You are being called to embrace your witchy superpowers, to practice some witchcraft, to get more familiar, to know more about it. Right? And last but not least, my dears, if you've been in this magical world for a while and you're like, I'm a witch, I embrace that I'm a witch, I love this, this is amazing, this is great, I practice magic all day, I do ritual all the time, I'm healing, I'm doing Reiki, I'm a psychic, all that kind of stuff. Connect with others. Don't keep those gifts to yourself. Find someone to mentor. Find someone to share your knowledge with. Right? I know that some of us often feel like we're solitary witches. I very much feel that, right? I walk, I beat to my drum to my own beat, right? Nobody's going to tell me how to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to share all that with you, right? I'm going to give you how I might do it and then encourage you to find your own dang way. Right? But if you've been in this world, there are more of us that need to wake up. There are more of us that need to embrace these superpowers. There are more of us that need to step into these roles to help bring about the changes. We are in a new time and place in this world, my dear friends, and the universe is calling for all of us with these superpowers to step in and to help elevate and heal the world. Yeah, I don't know if anybody, older people might know that song that just popped into my head. I think it's Michael Jackson, Heal the World. And I literally am going to listen to it after I finish recording. I should play it. I should, but I don't know that it'll come through very good. Find other people to mentor, find other people to share your knowledge with. And, as I say that, elevate the world, find other people to do magic with that will change the world. Get together and do a healing ceremony on, a healing ritual for a community. Do a healing ritual. I mean, we've got so much shit that's going on in this world right now, and I know it's not my calling here is to help wake more of you up. Right? Some of you are going to have that calling to literally go out and do this like community work, this deep work. And this is why, if you've been in this space, you need to be leveraging and using these gifts in some way, shape, or form to help change the world. And that might just be in your own little damn family. Right? So, that being said, I'm curious what you're going to do next after you hear this episode. Any of you can always reach out, contact me. I hope that you know that I am always just an email away or a message on Facebook, I suppose, if you want to find me there. But that being said, that is it for this week. I've given you all that I can as far as embracing your witchy superpowers for right now. And if you want more help, you want to do more practice, you want to go even further, well, you got to reach out, because I've definitely got something up my sleeve for you if that's the case. So until next time, all of my dear friends, much love from me to all of you. Have a very blessed rest of your day, and we will talk again soon.